So this section, I'm going to do a brief framework in the chart. I'll be covering under international criminal law the drug, meta-chip genocide, frequency, Wi-Fi lock on circuitry, chip systematic crime, and chip war crime. The murder of the military dupe, 100 plus Eurogrid, statute by statute exam of the COVAX medical evidence. So under organ damage, war crime article 8.2 of employing prohibited gases, liquids, materials, devices of undefended places, mutilation, permanently disabled, additional evidence of blood clot, evidence of Carl C with Dr. Nixon. And 4.0 to war crime article 8.2 of mutilation or permanently disabling the organ removal, damage of biological experimentation, medical or scientific experiment. Deaths, Article 8.2A1, war crime or willful killing, Article 8.2C1, murder, Article 7.1A, systematic and widespread crime against humanity of murder, Article 6A, genocide by killing, treacherous killing, wounding, e-shock torture, Article 8.2B, 11, 8.2E9, war crime of treacherously killing or wounding, Article 8.2A2, 1 and 8.2C1, war crime of torture, Article 7, 1F, crimes against humanity, experimental deaths, Article 8.2B, 10, 2, 8.2E, 11, 2, war crime of medical or scientific experiments, Article 8.2A2, 3, war crime of biological experimentations, using evidence from volunteer statistician, Brian Shaw Harvey, on 21st of July 2021, volunteer stat summary of the European deaths, injuries available at the website. Another statistics, Taiwan with the highest mortality rate of the COVID vax. Just to compare two regions from the European region and also the Dragon 1 ports. Article 8.2B, 13, 8.2E, 12, war crime of destroying or seizing enemy property. Article 8.2A, 4, war crime of global destruction and appropriation, that is criminal reaping of multiple gains type. I'll be using the WB, followed by the WBWT, times 4, unit written key to me, WB doc. Article 2, war crime, poison and poison weapons. Article 8.2B, 17, 8.2E, 13, war crime, poison and poison weapons. So basically just a recap of what we have completed so far. To sum up the previous evidence, Synapse USA COVAX evidence submitted evidence of USA 13 military and ex-military civilian intel from the South Americas, Ecuador, Brazilian batch, forensic Taylor, Brazilian batch, Felipe Ritz, Dr. Peripheral live blood analysis and computerized tomographic imaging by Felipe Ritz, Dr. North American Canadian batch, COVAX circuitry trip matching, NeuroNorth explanation, NeuroNorth electrode cured and liquid to solid micro machines manufactured in body. North American, Texas, Alabama, funeral embalming cell blood mutations indicates chip computation logic, fibrous blood clot. Blood cells mutation indicates chip computation logic, fibrous blood clot. South America, Mexico batch, MAC emitting addresses, buried COVAX corpse, Bluetooth finder with Switzerland batch. MAC emitting addresses COVAX date recipients graves, Bluetooth finder. And academic evidence from Washington Emeritus Prof. Lab electromagnetic fields act via activation of voltage gates calcium channels to produce adverse effects. Under Synapse CN China COVID evidence submitted, There's evidence also submitted from the South Zone Australian batch, microchip microconstruction, Dr. Nixon. The COVID evidence I will be discussing in another chapter. It's a alternate academic submission. Synapse Japan COVAX, which is bioweapon 2, differentiated from bioweapon 1 COVID. Evidence submitted from the glyph group is Japan. Lethal report of graphene oxide in COVAX. Lethal interactions of COVID with graphene oxide, implications for COVAX. Synapse 1, the Korean COVAX evidence submitted shows graphene oxide radiofrequency characteristics. Synapse Nordic European Swiss COVAX evidence submitted by the Spanish batch University of Almeria lab report. Legal confirmation of criminal contents, graphene oxide, silicon oxide, bioweapon 2 COVAX. I will also be explaining in a separate chapter Elon Musk apparent fake medical journal of neural net, graphene net. Detection of graphene in COVAX. This is referring to the Spanish batch submitted by the University of Almeria lab report. Micro Raman spectroscopy. The German assassinated razor blades findings and independent German scientists showing nano razor blades in COVAX cut from the inside. Toxic components also cross-referenced by the Dr. Felipe Ritz mentioned. The Russian-American Italian lab of 5G technology induction of coronavirus COVID in skin cells. This is some additional materials that I refer back to. Also, like these past prior records. I did a horizontal layout form check under international criminal law of chip genocide, chip systematic crime, chip war crime, murder of the military, and Eurograde civilian Prop 100+. COVAX injectable circuitry chip microconstruction, IBM Intel Mac address emitting transmitters matching neuron, Mac address emitting field programmable gate array, graphene oxide, silicon oxide, MOSFET metal oxide, ionized membrane potential chemical drug chip, synapse to pop, neurotransmitter kill switch chain reaction, neurograde synapse pop. Under international criminal law of the summation of synapse evidence, the international criminal law drug chip circuitry frequency, Wi-Fi log, genocide, chip systematic crime, chip war crime, murder, the military, 100+ neurogrid. Legal evidence. In this particular section, I will be examining the Article 82B, war crime employing prohibited bullets, time killing, war crime employing weapons, projectiles, or materials, and banned methods of warfare, microconstruction, Wi-Fi router, in-brain, self-assembling electronic circuitry, microchip construction. So this is a horizontal summation of what has already been covered as legal evidence, but in this particular section, there'll be additional compilation of additional stats evidence for a final sum up. So this is what has already been covered on a horizontal layout framework. The microconstruction, Wi-Fi router, in-brain, self-assembling electronic circuitry, microchip construction, submitted by the South Zone Australian batch of COVAX injectable circuitry chip microconstruction, and contrast compared with the IBM Intel copied ancient chip MAC address emitting transmitters matching neuron, the Synapse South Zone Australian COVAX evidence submitted. South America Equatorial Brazilian batch of the quadrant chip photographic medical evidence. The South American Synapse COVAX evidence submitted. The South America Brazilian batch Felipe Ritz feral live blood analysis and computerized tomographic imaging. The Synapse South American COVAX evidence submitted. The North American USA batch by Dr. Marty J. Synapse USA COVAX evidence submitted. The North American Canadian batch by Dr. Nagase, neuronal model explanation, electrode cure, and liquid to solid micro machines manufactured in the body, electrode curable and moldable to contours of a target in bodily tissue, and methods of manufacturing and placement and dispensers. The Synapse North American COVAX evidence submitted. The Europe Spanish batch, Dr. Campra Pablo, legal confirmation of criminal contents, graphene oxide, silicon oxide, bioweapon tool, COVAX. German date, razor blades explanation on Google, YouTube, Synapse Europeans, the COVAX evidence submitted. Legal evidence of the popularized term by Elon Musk of graphene of field programmable gate array Spanish batch, graphene metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor MOSFET field programmable gate array field FPGA neural-lace net theoretically can lead to electrocution and e-shock by radiofrequency waves. Detection of graphene in COVID-19 vaccines by micro-Raman spectroscopy. Technical report La Quanta Columna and University of Almería, Spain. The Europe-German batch by Dr. Andreas Nock, nano razor blades in the vaccines cutting from the inside on 11th of December 2021. Synapse Europeans COVAX evidence submitted. Also, independent group of German scientists exhibiting unusual toxic components. Legal evidence found in COVID vaccines without exception. German scientists. The Glyph group, the Japanese batch, lethal interactions of SARS-CoV-2 with graphene oxide implications for COVID-19. Synapse Japan COVAX evidence submitted. The North American Texas, Alabama funeral embalming cells mutation indicates chip computation logic. Fibrous blood clot, electrical engineers, physicians that discuss COVID vaccines emitting MAC addresses even from dead recipients from the grave in sense receptor. South America, Mexico batch MAC emitting addresses buried corpse Bluetooth finder by Dr. Pedro Chavez Zavala and with Dr. Andreas Ludwig Ketcher from Europe, Switzerland batch, Bluetooth truth, Synapse South Americans COVAX evidence submitted, Synapse Swiss COVAX evidence submitted. Followed by the medical evidence of MAC emitting address, self-assembling electronic circuitry microchip construction MAC address generator producing random numbers using the following illustrated blueprint as evidence discussion, Intel pattern, programmable neuron core with on-chip learning and stochastic time step control, reconfigurable neurosynaptic cores for spiking neural network, compute near memory convolution accelerator, the neural network by the IBM pattern / the neural core circuit. There's legal confirmation of neurochemical drug transmitter chip also established. This portion is to establish MAC emitting address illustrated blueprint matching the medical evidence submitted by all the different nations covering all the different continents. Legal confirmation of bioweapon to COVAX is a chemical drug chip. Ionized gating soma membrane tracers, membrane potentials, neurotransmitter kill switch, chain reactors, reaction extermination, thus committed drug genocide, drug systematic crime, and drug war crime under international criminal law, transmitter chip, the kill switch, ionized channels of pop synapse, neurogrip 100 plus, conductance of gating variables, soma membrane tracers, neurogrid. Using the IBM pattern journal, neurogrid, mixed analog digital multi-chip system, the Washington Emeritus Prof Journal of Electromagnetic Fields by activation of voltage gates, calcium channels to produce adverse effects. The Russian-American Italian Journal of 5G Technology Induction of Coronavirus, COVID in Skin Cells, and the Korean Academic Journal, Graphene Oxide Radiofrequency Characteristics. Next, the establishment of the legal evidence on metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor MOSFET, legal confirmation of metal chip soft wiring, that it is soft wiring and its metal oxide chip metal core circuitry, neural network, and neuromorphic system. The legal conclusion is that bioweapon 2 COVAX contains metal oxide metal chip soft wiring, silicon dioxide kill switch, committed metal chip genocide, chip systematic crime, chip war crime under international criminal law, metal core circuitry, neuromorphic system, neural network, neurogrid port 100 plus. MOSFET metal oxide metal chip soft wiring using the IBM model as illustrated blueprint to explain neuromorphic system, metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor, MOSFET, field programmable gate array, event-based neural network with hierarchical addressing for routing event packets between core circuits of the neural network. A legal exhibit of a laser radiative patches with micro-lens array of silicon dioxide. That is silicon oxide, Raytheon pattern of light-emitting diode, criminal purpose silicon oxide. The Raytheon model of silicon oxide optically activated array utilizing photonic integrated circuits, or PICs for short. Next, I examine the legal meaning of controller, the correct legal accurate definition of controller and processor. E-privacy law, telecommunications law, frequency bandwidth limit, legal confirmation of the meaning controller and processor. Proof of computation logic, aim capability demonstration using the IBM illustrative blueprint model neural network. The neural core circuit and memory mapper neural network accelerator for deployable inference systems. The law on neuromorphic synaptic circuitry metal core Neuralink network neurogrid. Use the official journal of the European Union as a basis for discussion. The Data Protection Law Regulation EU 2016-679 European Parliament Council 27 April 2016 on the protection of natural person with respect to processing personal data and free movement of such data GDPR. Legal accurate meaning of control and processor omitted. Convention 108 plus for the protection of individuals with respect to processing personal data, ETS number 108, 25th of June 2018. Draft explanatory report to the Convention 108 plus for the protection of individual with respect to automatic processing of personal data, European Treaty Series, ETS number 108, Strasbourg, 28th, 1981. Handbook on European Data Protection Law, April 2018 edition at the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights, and the E-Privacy Directive 2002-58, European Commission of the European Parliament and European Council on the 12th of July 2002. Concerning the processing of personal data and protection of privacy in electronic communication sector, the criminal definition of genocide murder versus the military report act. Using the IBM pattern model memory mapper neural network accelerator for deployable inference systems, with further legal confirmation of the correct, accurate definition of controller and processor, with photographic legal evidence of aim capability demonstration, design and tool flow of a 65 million watt, 1 million euro programmable neuromorphic chip 2016. So in this particular section, what I'm going to examine in addition to this total establishment of all the different aspects of the COVAX and COVID chip is under individual criminal law, statute by statute exam of the COVAX medical evidence chip genocide, chip systematic crime, and chip war crime. First is organ damage, war crime, Article 82 of employing prohibited gases, liquids, materials, devices of undefended places, mutilation, permanently disabled, additional evidence of blood clot. Evidence submitted by Carl C. with Dr. Nixon. Carl C. 2024 blood serum, complex hydrogel, scaffolding of tissue-like material, Dr. Nixon lab. War crime Article 82 of mutilation or permanently disabling organ removal, damage, or biological experimentation, medical or scientific experiment. Next, I examine the deaths under Article 82A, war crime, willful killing, murder, Article 71A, systematic widespread crime against humanity of murder, Article 6, genocide by killing, 82 war crime, poison and poison weapons, Article 82B, 82E, war crime, poison and poison weapons. Using evidence from the European submission, Spanish batch, Dr. Pablo Cambra Madrid of Spanish Quanta Columna Research Team, legal confirmation of criminal contents, graphene oxide, silicon oxide, bioweapon tool COVAX. Legal exhibit, graphene oxide detection in aqueous suspension. The official interim lab report on graphene oxide detection in aqueous suspension, observational study in optical and electron microscopy, Professor Dr. Pablo Cambra, Madrid, University de Almería, Spain. Next, I examine treacherous killing, wounding, e-shock, potential thus torture. Article 82B, war crime treacherously killing or wounding. Article 82A, war crime of torture. Article 7, crimes against humanity. Next, I examine experimental deaths. Article 82B. 2E, war crime of medical or scientific experiments. Article 82A, war crime of biological experiments using Brian Harvey, 21st July 2021, volunteer stats summary of the European stats injuries. Global research, and also compare and contrast with the Taiwan highest mortality rate after COVID statistics summary brief. A powerful brief. Property, Article 82B, war crime of destroying or seizing enemy property. Article 82A, war crime of global destruction and appropriation. Criminal reaping of multiple gains type using the WB document. So in this particular section, I'll be looking under international criminal law, statute by statute exam of COVAX medical evidence photographic. The COVAX medical evidence on chip genocide, chip systematic crime, chip war crime, on organ damage, war crime Article 82 of employing prohibited gases, liquids, materials, devices of undefended places, mutilation, permanently disabled, additional evidence of blood clot mutation, Carl C. by Dr. Nixon, adding on to the Texas, Alabama funeral embalming evidence of mutation. War crime 82 of employing prohibited gases, liquids, materials, devices of undefended places, mutilation, permanently disabled, additional evidence of blood clot, Carl C. with Dr. Nixon. War crime Article 82 of mutilation or permanently disabling organ removal, damage or biological experimentation, medical or scientific experiment. War crime Article 82 of mutilation or permanently disabling organ damage, organ removal or biological experimentation, medical or scientific experiment. International criminal law, statute by statute, ICJ, ICC model as a basis for discussion, photographic evidence submitted from the American batch. This is evidence of war crime under Article 82B, classification of employing prohibited gases, liquids, materials, devices of hydrogel, injectables by Carl C. Subtitle The Man Against Microbes, along with war crime under Article 82B, 5 of attacking undefended places bloodstream. The legal evidence 82B. 17. War crime of employing prohibited gases, liquids, materials, or devices. Article 82. War crime of undefended places. Article 82. War crime of mutilation, permanently disabling via blood clot. Trigger of rapid blood clots through cell mimicry agents. Carl C. with Dr. Nixon. Carl C. interprets its evidence of blood serum loaded with nanoparticles, colloidal materials, crystal formations, polymer substrates, microfluidic pump systems, chemical material factories, which matches the IBM drug tailor delivery system blueprint under pharmaceutical law. CETA charges in products manipulate rapid entry of material in cell membranes to manipulate flows, a technique employed in microfluidic systems. I define this as orthogonal killer ring evidence, which will also be explained in a separate chapter using other SEC killer products blueprint. Also, he observed of laminating pre-aligned cell structures cross-linked colloidal molecules. That is, laminating materials that align constructive guiders. Weaver patterns by colloidal molecules that secrete a large range of programmed products, including cells or reactive structures, with unique properties programmed with extensive networking structuring materials that matches IBM WB based multi-phase programmatic approach. Here the serum has finished reactions dehydrated with cracked spheres that resemble polymer encapsulations. The outer ring of the membrane has taken iron-rich hemoglobin and concentrated it in very precise positioning. The blue fibrous networks that speedily tear out from the microsphere upon droplet drying indicates, according to Dr. Carl C's opinion, an unnatural process, clearly very unusual behavior. Also, the constructor rings matches the WLC pic of sample illustrative blueprint Samsung type orthogonal beam space, which is a theme that is going to be repeated also at the Wuhan Military Games flag. Product compare match with Dr. Nixon's captured images and fibers observed. This is a microsphere structure floated at the test site with polymer networks that branch out, resembling dried blood cracking open to reveal rapidly forming polymers. Ring constructor under pharmaceutical law, biomedicine law, international criminal law, chip genocide, chip war crime. Matching the chip code types IBM drug tailor delivery system under pharmaceutical law, biomedicine law, international criminal law, chip genocide, chip war crime. The ring constructor selectively absorbs particles formed from or stored as cargo. For example, the IBM drug tailor in hydrogels found in serum and COVAX injectables. UV light at 2 different wavelengths permits the viewing of serum contaminants materializing particles at the ring edge of droplet. Guidance constructor, for example, microconstruction Dr. Nixon's robotic arms located in the center of 3 arm and 2 arm structures of either bright ring or polymer spheres based on program individuality. Materials align in a strategic format to the link and pattern colloidal molecule-based template structures after laminating processes triggered or sped up by variables. Here is a scaffolding event on the slide which Carl C believes is blood carrying a large range of hydrogel, inclined to unpack constructors in other body locations. Here, Carl C observed fiber-like networks with a great density of glistening particles that fill the inner tube of fibers. Dr. Charles Hoff confirmed that the microscopic blood clots were too small to be found on any regular scan, CT, MRI, and could only be detected using the D-dimer test. He found medical evidence of small blood clots in 62% of his patients injected with mRNA, first Moderna shot, that are now permanently disabled, deaf, disabling neurological deficits with chronic pain, permanent heart damage, and microscopic blood clots in the British Columbia district, and he received a gag order. Under Article 8.2, war crime of mutilation or permanently disabling organ removal, organ damage. Article 8.2, war crime of mutilation or permanently disabling organ removal damage. This is evidence of war crime under Article 8.2b, classification, and 8.2e, classification or mutilation by permanently disabling or an organ removal. For example, DNA mutilation, alteration, justified by neither medical, dental, or hospital treatment, whose 8.2e conduct that caused death or seriously endangered death. When tissues or body parts like the brain, spinal cord, heart, lungs are damaged by blood clots, they are permanently damaged. In other words, irreversible multiple organ damage. Under Article 82B4, war crime of excessive incidental death, injury, organ damage. These blood clots, coagulation leading to incapacitation, severely disabled, evidenced by Carl C., Dr. Nixon, Dr. Robert Young, confirming that nanotube causes blood coagulation leading to hypercapnia, hypoxia, and death, and Dr. Charles Hoff are classified under 82B4 of excessive incidental death, injury, or damage, of which the criminal elements can also involve set ports rapists, access. The registered stat concerning the port race piece here in Lineland includes the STEL, ORTEL with the set Inmarsat, Viasat, Airbus TREA, and also possibly Tesla X through the Temasek. You have to register PSLT dollar land debt, not pay ATM manual, and there's also diffusion and also genocide of victims, diffusion, correct classification of times 3 to 4 large continents, land claim passport, tech traits registration. So you can email or you can pass a hard copy to me in person, 1,000 pages with diagrams and blueprints, and also extraction of USD. Also, some mention of possible agency involvement in DARPA, APPRO, BADA type, and also I collected some evidence of geomotion, which have something to do with this large-scale land robbery post-genocide, as Improv have some, and widespread land robbery in conjunction with some sort of collection of data over the land. Northrop G. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Babcock, salesman assaultment at some hotel meetings, should be also registered with PSLT dollar land debt, not pay ATM manual, and Trisolar Tech Trade. Technical documentation upload or a brief prepared by the inventor, or you can submit to me. I'll try to make a documentation brief and upload for tech trade listing. Telecom device maker, Huawei Landscan, which I also cover in a separate chapter as illustrated blueprint, how a potential collapse can be conducted from outer space Landscan. Telecom vendors, T-Mobile, T-System also mentioned in a separate chapter concerning some of the legal cases. Cell towers, 5G cloud, Amazon launch, and use 5G cloud in relation to Amazon, and these are some illustrative examples of how radio frequency can cause the incidental death or injury to civilian objects on a widespread long-term severe damage to the natural environment. Satellite lens scan, for example, SATCOM system, IEEE Wi-Fi lock-on COVAX chip replica type, IBM Intel Samsung neuromorphic chip system, emitting MAC e-vessels lock-on, crafts, pilots, polyneural cells, such that death, injury, or damage is of such an excessive extent, and the popes knew that the attack would cause incidental death or injury. Warlaw Court, International Criminal Law, statute by statute exam. Deaths, Article 82A, War Crime of Willful Killing, Article 82C, Murder, Article 7, Systematic Widespread Crime Against Humanity or Murder, Article 6, Genocide by Killing. Treacherous Killing, Wounding, Torture, Article 82B, War Crime of Treacherously Killing or Wounding, Article 82A, and C, War Crime of Torture, Article 7, F Crime, 71F Crimes Against Humanity. Experimental deaths, Article 82B, 10, 2E, 11, War Crime Medical or Scientific Experiments, Article 82A, 3, War Crime or Biological Experimentation. Legal evidence submitted by the European nations group under pharmaceutical law, international criminal law. Brian Shaw Harvey, a volunteer statistician, gave conclusive statistical evidence of organ damage data on the 21st of July 2021. Medical classifications under the war crime of disabling, permanently organ damage, deaths, treacherous killing, wounding, experimental deaths, and war crime under Article 82B 10 to 82E 11(2) of medical or scientific experiment. A good sample of death statistics and also the likelihood that is being automated radiofrequency transmitter. A good sample of death statistics can also be found in the World Tourism Organization. I repeat, World Tourism Organization had a very good sample of death statistics that I referred to. It has a very good database. So it's representing World Tourism and not World Trade, World Tourism Organization, which is also WTO for short. But this summary data of deaths and injuries on the 17th of July 21 is based on health impact news by volunteer Shaw Harvey as follows. There was a July 2021 total reactions for the experimental mRNA vaccine tocilizumab, code is BNT162B2 or Comirnaty for short, from BioNTech and Pfizer. Total 8,939 deaths and total 332 injuries, dated 17th of July 2021. Total reactions for the experimental mRNA vaccine tocilizumab, code BNT162B2, Comirnaty from BioNTech Pfizer. The total deaths is 8,939, injuries is 600 over 695,332 injuries. So on the first column is death, second column injuries. So we can start to analyze like the blood and lymphatic system disorders, 107 deaths, injury 19,163. Cardiac disorders, 1,000 over deaths, 16,713 injuries. Congenital genetic disorders, 12 deaths, 151 injuries. Endocrine disorders, 2 deaths, 376 injuries. Eye disorders, 20 deaths, 10,000 over injuries. Gastrointestinal disorders, 403 deaths, 63,000 injuries. General disorders and administration site conditions, 2,000 over deaths and 188, nearly 200,000 deaths. Hepatobiliary disorders, 38 deaths. Immune system disorders, 45 deaths. Infections and infestations, 886 deaths, with 20 over 1,000 injuries. Injury, poisoning, and procedural complications, 130 deaths, 8,000 over injuries. Investigations, metabolism, nutrition disorders, 100 over 164 deaths. Musculoskeletal connective tissue disorders, 100 over deaths, 96,000 injuries. Neoplasm, benign, malignant, and unspecified cyst, 30 deaths, 451 injuries. Nervous system disorders is a consistent high score across all the different COVAX chip radiofrequency, COVAX chip death stats. 958 deaths for nervous system disorders, clearly indicating brain attacks, and 125,000 injuries. Renal and urinary disorders, 137 deaths. Reproductive system and breast disorders, 2 deaths. Respiratory and mediastinal disorders, thoracic, 1,000 deaths with 30,000 injuries. Skin tissue disorders, 81 deaths, with 33,254 injuries. Even surgical and medical procedures led to 24 deaths, 463 injuries. Vascular disorders, 361 deaths, 19,000 injuries. Next, we look at Moderna. Total reactions for the experimental under international criminal law mRNA vaccine 1273CX024414 from Moderna, 17th of July 2021. Total reactions for the experimental mRNA vaccine 1273 from Moderna. Total 5,000 deaths, 917 injuries. Blood and lymphatic system, 42 deaths, 3,000 injuries. Cardiac disorder, 558 deaths, 5,000 injuries. Congenital genetic disorder, 4 deaths. Eye disorder can lead to 10 deaths from Moderna, 2,000, near 3,000 injuries. Gastrointestinal disorders led to 189 deaths and 16,461 injuries. General disorders and administration site conditions, 2,000 deaths and 50,000 injuries. Hematobiliary disorders, 18 deaths, 300 injuries. Immune system disorders, 6 deaths, 1,567 injuries. Infections and infestations, 308 deaths, 5,000 injuries. Injury, poisoning, and procedural complications led to 97 deaths and 4,000 injuries. Metabolism and nutrition disorders, 113 deaths, 1,900 injuries. Musculoskeletal and connective tissue disorders, 97 deaths, 23,555 injuries. Neoplasm, benign, malignant, unspecified cysts, 22 deaths, 225 injuries. Nervous system disorders, 513 deaths, 24,000 injuries. Renal and urinary disorders, 78 deaths and 1,000 injuries. Reproductive system and breast disorders, 2 deaths, 1,200 injuries. Respiratory, thoracic, and mediastinal disorders, 489 deaths, 8,513 injuries. Skin and subcutaneous tissue disorders, 39 deaths and 9,995 injuries. Surgical and medical procedures, 48 deaths, 636 injuries. Vascular disorders, 188 deaths and 5,454 injuries. Next, evidence of total reactions for experimental vaccine AZD1222 Vaxzevria or ChAdOx1 and COVID-19 from Oxford AstraZeneca, total 4,200 deaths and 887,314 injuries, 17th of July 2021. There is a lot of illegal vehicles, and they also paste to letter implying certain country names. So you have to really trace the source of SE and the vehicle owners tied to which bank, that sort of thing, to have a correct accuracy in all this large-scale land robbery and large-scale genocide, radio frequency genocide. And also, of course, the person you come into interaction to attack you. So just keep a distance. Total reactions for the experimental vaccine AZD1222 Vaxzevria or ChAdOx1 and COVID-19 from Oxford AstraZeneca. Blood and lymphatic system disorders, 175 deaths and 10,414 injuries. Cardiac disorders, 487 deaths. So brain and heart shows one of the highest death stats and 14,055 injuries. Congenital familial genetic disorders, 3 deaths, 118 injuries. Endocrine disorder, 3 deaths, 385 injuries. Eye disorders led to 17 deaths. Of course, this is also very significant. And 15,321 injuries. Gastrointestinal disorders, 202 deaths, 89,087 injuries. General disorders and administration site conditions, 1,000 over deaths with 235,935 injuries. Hepatobiliary disorders, 37 deaths and 664 injuries. Immune system disorders, 14 deaths, 3,510. This is also significant. All these are good areas to embark on additional research. Infections and infestations, 262 deaths. On the POP, 20,564 injuries. Injury, poisoning, and procedural complications, 104 deaths, 9,562 injuries. Metabolism and nutrition disorders, 55 deaths, 10,674 injuries. Musculoskeletal connective tissue disorders, 55 deaths, 136,186 injuries. Neoplasms, benign, malignant, unspecified cysts, and 10 deaths, 411 injuries. Nervous system disorder, 670 deaths, 187,160 injuries. Pregnancy, 8 deaths, 328 injuries. Product issues led to 1 death, 128 injuries. Renal and urinary disorders, 36 deaths, 3,169 injuries. Reproductive system and breast disorders, 10,364 injuries. Respiratory, thoracic, and mediastinal disorders, 492 deaths, which is very significant because it means that it's linked to your lungs. Very important. 492 deaths and 30,368 injuries. Skin and tissue disorders, 26 deaths, 40,721 injuries. Social circumstances. Surgical and medical procedures, 17 deaths, 873 injuries. Vascular disorders, 311 deaths, and 20,399 injuries. Total reactions for experimental COVID-19 vaccine Janssen, AD26-CoV2S, also found in the WP lawless. Return your premise keys to me and the related files. The entire WP lawless. All the files. From Johnson & Johnson, 680 deaths and 51,656 injuries, dated 17 July 2021. Total reactions for the experimental COVID-19 vaccine Janssen AD26-CoV2S from Johnson & Johnson, 680 deaths and 51,656 injuries. Blood and lymphatic system, 21 deaths, 461 injuries. Cardiac disorders, very important, 81 deaths, 747 injuries. There are ear disorders, 289 injuries. Endocrine disorders, 1 death, 14 injuries. Eye disorders, 3 deaths, 598 injuries. Gastrointestinal disorders, 28 deaths and 5,021 injuries. General disorder administration site conditions, 163 deaths, 13,775 injuries. Hepatobiliary disorder, 6 deaths, 21 injuries. Immune system disorder, 3 deaths, 199 injuries. Infections, infestations, 19 deaths, 744 injuries. Injury, poisoning, and procedural complications led to 9 deaths and 467 injuries. Metabolism and nutrition disorders, 12 deaths, 259 injuries. Musculoskeletal and connective tissue disorders, 20 deaths, 8,905 injuries. Neoplasm, benign, malignant, 1 death, 20 injuries. Nervous system disorders, very important, 86 deaths, 11,093 injuries. Pregnancy, 1 death, 16 injuries. Renal and urinary disorders, 9 deaths, 177 injuries. Reproductive system and breast disorders, 2 deaths, 258 injuries. Respiratory, very important, the breathing lungs, 53 deaths and 1,646 injuries. Skin tissue disorders, 2 deaths, 1,282 injuries. Surgical and medical procedures, 30 deaths, 129 injuries. Vascular disorders, 73 deaths, 1,692 injuries. Legal exhibit of the European summary data of deaths and injuries on 17/7/2021 of experimental 1, Vax Oxford AstraZeneca, 2, Pfizer BioNTech, 3, Moderna, and 4, Janssen. Comparative chart shows that the reported cases on the last update on 17 July 2021 Oxford AstraZeneca fatalities was 4,200. BioNTech Pfizer was 8,939. Moderna is 74,999. Reported cases 5,000 fatalities. Janssen was 680 fatalities, so the total fatalities is 18,928. All multiple symptoms is 1,823,219. Serious injuries 904, 609 serious injuries. Eurovigilance defines seriousness classification as corresponding to a medical occurrence that results in death. That is, life-threatening, requires inpatient hospitalization resulting in medically important condition or prolongation of existing hospitalization, COVAX chip 2-tier frequency, which I will explain in a separate chapter. Results in persistent or significant disability or incapacity or in a congenital anomaly birth defect. This is a contrast compare chart between July 21 stats with the October 21 stats. So it's just a quick review. The summary death and injury stats by by October 2021 based on Health Impact News volunteer. As follows: total reactions for the experimental mRNA vaccine Tosin Amaran, code BNT162b2, Comirnaty from BioNTech, Pfizer, 12,835 deaths, 1,124,72 injuries by October 2021. You can read this from the website by the volunteer statistician, or you can download a copy of this. It's just a extraction of what is really useful from the stats. But I will just have a quick run through. It's just a comparison within a few months. What are the differences in the numbers? So total reaction for experimental mRNA vaccine Tosin Amaran, code BNT102b2, Comirnaty from BioNTech, Pfizer, 12,835 deaths and 1,124,072 injuries. Blood and lymphatic system, 177 deaths. Cardiac disorder, 1,894 deaths. That's a big jump. Cardiac disorder is very important. Congenital familial and genetic disorders, 24 deaths. Ear disorders, 10 deaths. Endocrine disorders, 5 deaths. Eye disorders, 30 deaths. Gastrointestinal disorders, 528 deaths. General disorders, admin site conditions, 3,649 deaths. Hepatobiliary disorders, 63 deaths. Immune system disorders, 66 deaths. Infections, infestation, 1,269 deaths. Very large numbers. Injury, poisoning, and procedural complications, 201 deaths. Metabolism and nutrition disorders, 231 deaths. Musculoskeletal connective tissues, 259 deaths. Neoplasm, benign, malignant, including unspecified cease, 91 deaths. Nervous system injuries are large increment, 1,394 deaths. That means over time it is more lethal. Pregnancy, 44 deaths. Renal and urinary disorders, 200 deaths. Reproductive system, breast disorders, 4 deaths. Respiratory, thoracic, and mediastinal disorders, 1,504 deaths. So it's also a large increment. Skin and tissue disorders, 100 over deaths. Surgical and medical procedures, 36 deaths. And vascular disorder, 545 deaths. A quick run of the total reactions for experimental mRNA vaccine 1273CX024414 from Moderna. 7,322 deaths and 594 injuries by October 2021. The injuries is 300 over 1,000, 7,000 deaths. Blood lymphatic system, cardiac disorders are large number, 787 deaths. The gastrointestinal is large number, 286 deaths. General disorder and admin site condition, 2,715 deaths. Infections, infestations, 562 deaths. Nervous system disorder, 735 deaths. Renal and urinary disorders, 131 deaths. Vascular disorder, 279 deaths. Total reactions for the experimental vaccine AstraZeneca, Oxford, 5,633 deaths and 1 million injuries by October 2021. Lymphatic system disorder, 227 deaths. Cardiac disorders, large number, 608 deaths. Gastrointestinal disorder, 294 deaths. General disorders, admin site conditions, 1,355 deaths. Infections, infestations, 259 deaths. Nervous system disorder, 884 deaths. Respiratory, thoracic, mediastinal disorders, 673 deaths. Vascular disorder, 410 deaths. Total reactions for experimental COVID-19 vaccine Janssen CoV-2S from Johnson & Johnson, 1,457 deaths and 83,970 injuries by October 2021. The cardiac disorders, 127 deaths. The general disorders, admin site condition, 281 deaths. Infections and infestations, 102 deaths. Nervous system disorders, 160 deaths. Respiratory and thoracic and mediastinal disorders, 167 deaths. And vascular disorder, 121 deaths. The legal exhibit of the European summary data of deaths injury by October 21 of the experimental vaccine Pfizer, BioNTech, Oxford, AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Janssen comparative chart. The fatalities for Pfizer, BioNTech ranked first within a few months. Prior, it was Oxford, AstraZeneca. So the fatalities 12,835, followed by Oxford, AstraZeneca, 563. Moderna is 700. Pfizer BioNTech is 12,835. Oxford AstraZeneca is 5,633. Moderna is 7,322. Janssen is 1,457. A total of 27,247 fatalities. All multiple symptoms. Total is 2,563,768. Serious injuries, 1,222,818. Here is just a mention of if you are interested. There is a WLC uni, which is a doctorate of LTD rockets, weapons tech, DCMN tech. Welcome. And trisolar tech traits of the listing, so the Technical Registration Bank Authority. Here is a Taiwan evidence legal exhibit. So it is posted on Facebook, and basically it's a very powerful short message that shows that the COVID prior to COVAX radio frequency chip genocide was 844. But after the COVAX chip genocide, it was 843, which is only a 1% difference. So the message, the analysis is that the death stats cannot be near exact before and after vaccinated. Thus, the point is that it is not a vaccination. It is infra-chip genocide, systematic crime, widespread, and war crime, meaning murder the military. So this glyph select Taiwan clearly evidence that the bioweapon tool COVAX microchip solidified from liquid form injectables administered to supposedly save lives caused a total of 843 deaths, blatantly obviously matches 844 deaths from bioweapon 1 COVID radio frequency kill. Thus, in other words, doubled the total number of deaths by the time 6 October 2021 statistics evidence documented by Taiwanese official. By 7 October 2021, the total number of deaths after COVAX in Taiwan reached 852, which exceeded the total number of deaths 844 diagnosed from COVID. Here is the legal exhibit enlarged from the stats display documented presented by the news legally confirmed that COVAX deaths is greater than COVID deaths. It also stated as a subtitle, more died after vax than from virus. So the point is that it is not a vax. The legal exhibit enlarged shows that a ranking chart analysis, much like the European stats chart, there is a list of AstraZeneca, Moderna, Gauri should be Pfizer, BioNTech. Oh no, Pfizer. I also thought it is rather strange that the translation is completely different for Pfizer. Pfizer should be Gauri. BioNTech. So the upper row is the increment. Taiwan's Death Department issued an alert notice of adverse events after COVID-19 vax. On 6 October, the death toll after vax reached 849. The death toll after COVAX AstraZeneca was the largest at 643. So like the numbers is just a estimate, close estimate around that time. So the death toll after vaccine the Taiwanese AstraZeneca was recorded as the largest at 643. Of course, it's around there, 652 with the stats display enlarged from the very important correct broadcast news as media return keys to me. Moderna at 183. As media is not LTD news, which is Thailand Rock. 60 plus 5 plus 5, even additional 5 years after genocide. Final solution. Moderna at 183. You can see over here is there's a slight it's a close number around that time frame. 183, 184 for Moderna. Taiwan self-produced Vax Medigen was 22. So maybe this is Medigen, but I will have a recheck. What is the I did some study of the translation of a few of the names, and maybe I got this wrong, but I'll go and recheck that the names translation is very different when it is translated to the glyph names. So maybe this is Medigen. So the Vex Medigen was 22, and the death toll COVAX Taiwan reached 852, while the death toll connected to COVID-19 was 844, which was something presented on the Facebook discussion. Thus, the official conclusion is that the number of COVAX deaths exceeded the confirmed deaths of COVID for the first time in Taiwan. A statistical report states that Taiwan has the highest mortality rate after COVAX in the world, with a total of 712 died. Medicrime murder, with most deaths involving AstraZeneca vax. Okay, so Pfizer's name, the reason for this slight mix-up was that there is also a Ray term, but it isn't Gao Ray, it's Hui Ray. So let me just show the evidence of the legal term. So Pfizer in Chinese translation is not Galway, so that could be the reason why I had some inkling of this term. So Pfizer, this, as you can see here, the correct term translation is Huiwei, which is very different from the alternate name given to the public. So it's Huiwei. As you can see over here, it is a very different name when translated. Whereas this other one that is mentioned could have been the Galway that you see over here. So that is why I had an inkling, so I had an impression. I'll recheck this term again. Taiwan Epidemic Command Center document 4 new cases of COVID. Pneumonia adverse reaction interpreted as a sign of criminal medical experimentation imported from abroad on 7 October, and 3 new deaths from COVAX. The COVAX deaths still exceed COVID deaths. So that is the point. It is not a vaccine. Thus, the legal and only obvious conclusion is that the lab-made SARS-CoV-2, COVID, and COVAX are both bioweapons. The latter masquerading as a medi-product, or in other words, a Medicrime Act, or counterfeit Medicrime Act, based on conclusive statistical evidence on the European database and also from the GLIP group, such as Taiwan. Also, the prior record of war crime events in conjunction with this Tier 1, Tier 2, also POS, POR, percentage, weapons, tech, Tom should be re-examined to decide further link if continuation of certain varieties group, infra-chip genocide, infra-seaman, meaning large-scale land robbery or land robbery, infra theft, false return. Next, international criminal law, statute by statute exam. Property, Article 82B, 13, war crime of destroying or seizing enemy property, Article 82A for war crime of global destruction, appropriation, criminal reaping or multiple gains type using WB document. Appropriation and destruction of manufactured chip targets covering different continents, including USMCA, Euro, Swiss. Of course, this is not an encouraged term, because if it's from the point of view of the PERM, it would be better to just say like USA, South America, the specific country name like Mexico, Brazil, Aeronautic Swiss, fabricated wrong, erroneous group label, anti-Asia, wrong name ASEAN, and here is Phoenix in the south, Dragon in the east, 1, 2, 3. Total glyph group called Yato, heaven and earth. It's an omitted Y before the A, omitted H after the A. In the term ASEAN, which is ASEA. Ya is the name of God, heaven and earth, which is the glyph text that you is called something. Somehow it just had an alternate name called the Bible. So a nation's military property comprised of the military's healthy human vessel. So here I'm stating that it is a type of appropriation, a war crime of destroying and seizing the enemy property, because in order for the military to combat defense, they need a healthy human vessel. Also, this is classified under war crime, meaning there is no war, but it is a perp that murders the military. Before they get to the civilian, they kill the civilian, like Grade 100 plus. Financial crime. So this is not so much financial crime. This is more like, suppose it's traded on a wrong trading platform. That is a perp owner that needs to escape anytime if, let's say, the military decides to bomb it down, for example. So it's a wrong trading platform, large-scale land robbery, large-scale chip genocide, killing the military, war crime, systematic widespread crime against the civilian, 100 plus grade pop. Illegal contamination soup. So this is the tier 1, tier 2. If it is working in the wrong, that means it is not doing banking, rather it's robbing land, for example. The blueprint IBM neuromorphic chip with Microsoft illustrative blueprint, E-reward vectors parameters. We'll discuss this in another chapter. Compute system intended to control using a computer controller chip, Wi-Fi, lock-on body cells, solar panels, outer space. Then scan, mutate into a 666p slaves. National properties broaden definition, usurpation. The intentional willful damage of body organs, time of the cell's destruction trigger over time using mRNA intrusion, bioweaponry invasion is war crime. The illustrated blueprint of the IBM Intel type chip includes intent for machinery robotic circuitry. This is irrelevant in terms of infra-chip genocide, war crime, systematic crime. This military attack is calculated by the accused perp sub-perp to weaken the drugs, invasion, heroin stuff. Some past examples can include like US state soldiers. Intent for drugs, infused body cells with Kovacs as slaves in the European Swiss Nordic region, in Asia's entire Asia military function, defense, offense, even to annihilate completely the military forces of all forces, including there's no such function. It's an independent island state that was wrong. So that the kingpin binary perp. So if the paste such a label sticker is can also be handed over if they're involved in large-scale land robbery. So Shromangan, WP Lawless, Puto, DGX, SGX, Mahjong Singh, STL, or Telecommunication Malaysia X, and two-letter paste CNX, HS, SH, CN. So the S block, CN block, Ruby block, and landed is really not for sale. It's not for human. It's an island scale, not possible to contain for those 4 large continent states and others. You need to register a land claim passport and build your house there. So all the banks, you have to return at least 1 as printer and 1 passport machine. So this means that some of the buildings that detect CPF, you have to return key. You've been using the land, robbing the land to collect illegal as circulate. Article 82A4, war crime of global destruction and appropriation, criminal reaping of multiple gains type, refers to the war crime of premeditated global destruction and appropriation, criminal reaping of global bank in, not necessarily doing banking. In my opinion, that is the wrong format. Trade gain, capital markets, thin regional scam from bioweb label made COVID COVAX chip. So like, for example, in this context, The building is an illegal building with by people that have invalid passport. SG does not refer to line land, and the air circulation is after robbing line land. So the building itself, it's not authorized. It's an illegal building. It's a one-cement building. Most of the time, they've just put two-letter paste. So they can be detained. Including, at this point, the large-scale robbery is still going on. They can start to return their live-in address keys to me, upload in a group listing of all the student companies, SE, large-scale robbery, extraction on USD, MBS return key to extract. No such escort based on ×2 wrong address, return a key to me. The two-letter paste SEHS SHCN star engine robbery. There's many engines robbering construction vehicles that you can also have a preview unwind of from the WRC judge. Now it's Diffusion Bank for correct land claim passport with specific manual cache. So all industry, you can also return the key. You should not be working additional 5 years of large S-Corp robbery such as B-Range, M-Range, NUS, or the S-Uni, S-Quadron, illegal invite, HE organ damage, attacks, copy FL, LTD, and ×2 murder by time 2020. It should have been shut down for diffusion at the time, by 2008, not 2026. Mabubani of LKY, the Jayakumar of NUPACE S, that is an illegal air circulation after robbing line land. NTU Rajaratnam already did return the case to me. All the SUNI, SUSS Taman. So this number one cancer, that is there's no excuse. Public health, Seesaw Hawk, and this international health law, which advocates in conjunction with this explanation of multi-phase programmatic approach with the WB, advocating loans to kill yourself with the COVAX chip. That is, you have to return the law faculty. There's no such law after robbing line land. There's a murder charge and LTD land debt not paid, and now it's Diffusion Bank and also PSLD dollar land debt not paid. Per grid, diffusion in conjunction with calculations done 500 years. We trace back the history of all the Asia states that had underwent war crime invasion. And also extraction of USD from those that escaped to USA from robbing line land. The World Bank COVID-19 Strategic Preparedness and Response Program documents mark official clearly spell the start and end date, thus evidencing complicity and pre-med COVAX chip genocidal systematic crime, war crime, affirmative foreknowledge of global crime as criminal planners. So these numbers also pop up when I was flipping through some of the materials on this area in the S journal as early as 1999. That is about 19 years after the last batch. For example, me, I witnessed a person live on farmland. You can see some of the pictures on the YouTube WRC evidence. One to select, but I have others. I showed what it was like in Lineland. It is not the current layout, and if you have high intelligence level, you will realize that that is not the layout for a coastal. This whole region is ancient. The Yah Heaven and Earth is ancient, so it means billions of years. So the whole region of Malaysia, Nisimiya, Ma Guo, which changed to alternate names, could have been robbed and altered, much like I suspect maybe even China, for example, because it refers to mathematics, chi squared, for example. So and also it's a different translation from the Greek name. So Heaven and Earth Ya is Malaysia, Nisimiya, here is 9天地. So in this event printed on me, it's my palm print and it's printed on me. Is a Phoenix star in the south, matches the south Phoenix star and also line Heaven and Earth. So 9天地 is as well as all the neighboring regions, it does not disturb anyone. It has a demarcation by the jagged rocks layout. It's so deep in the forest. And when I was young, I even formulated the thoughts of, as a child, I would formulate thoughts like, if you drive out, you can like go missing, for example. It's deep in the forest. It's much like coastal states. The materials are coastal materials. The layout is international. There's forests. There's also trees. There's jagged rocks. So the faster, speedier that you bite with a genocidal by delivery, large scale land robbery, institutional NY or bicycle food delivery are post-genocide pre-med as early as 1999. That was about 19 years after the last batch of islanders were robbed. Like they lie by two sides of the parties that illegal escalate after robbing blind land that they are the Gulf. They stole the land. So about 19 years after the last batch was stolen, suppose that it was 60 plus 5 plus 5 years of genocide, but suppose the random picked up pages that I flipped through, one was 1999. So that's about 19 years. 1981 was the year that the last batch of islanders was still around, and I personally witnessed. The farmland was stolen, the land was stolen, the estate. So the S-landed, CN Rupee landed, it is not land estate. It is S-landed brochure. And so it is already landed the whole area. There's no like Manchurian Death Factory or a Manchurian Death Factory remake called Worker Storm. Common street pipe is worker storm, whether it's condominium or apartment or HDB, which they lie and say that it's a Gulf housing. That is untrue. The point is that it's a worker storm. It's not for sale, it's not for human. In this span, 1905 to 2026, the bank employees are stealing land. They are still land company. They are not banks as a result. So if you're still robbing now, as the student company and student student bank employee, return your home keys in South Island to me within 48 hours. Just like the way they lied about being a Gulf housing and they lied to steal the land. And they cannot claim, for example, there's no such term town council, ambassador of landless. You cannot access the airport to collect people to attack and leave and copy address and murder times 2020. There's no such term. So you cannot use such term to clean any part of the districts. And right now it's diffusion. Diffusion bank with the correct land passport register and you build a house there. Initially, I also had some other proposals, such as maybe instead of putting you in Johor, you can join the CN inside the KL. But even for these banks over there that came from Malaysia and other areas like SBI, SG, that is not line land passport. SG doesn't refer to line land. It's robbed line land. So I think to start off is a correct land register for authentic land claim that is safer. But initially I had other proposals like to put the S group in KLS Bank. So I think right now it's more like a authentic land claim that way it also can lead to a total cutoff of all these perps that lie when they sell illegal structures, including common share car park is not land passport. The CC killer, community center killers, is not land passport. The S school is not land passport. By now, the islanders, they are not islanders' children anymore, and they also rob the identity of the islanders by pasting SG on themselves. So, it's so much, and within a few generations, you will replicate, double or multiply. So you, at this point, by 2020 is the final cutoff. You have to register correct land claim passport, specific cash issue for the land claim and house, and you can't paste S3 passport issue anymore. And if you are still robbing a land, building blocks, CN blocks, or any two letterbox with SE involvement, you have to return the SE key, and the student company has to go to jail with the bank employees. Or the banks have to return your building keys and put underground weapons at Marina and Raffles Place, which is a fake Raffles statue figurine, and it is they rob Lineland and paste S3. It's an illegal executing after robbing Lineland. So premeditated covert, strip, genocidal, systematic crime, war crime, affirmative foreknowledge of global crime as criminal planners themselves, kingpin, perps with sub and complicit perp card holders or imposters name listed in the WB doc, printed on start date 20th April 2020, end date 30th 31st of March 2025. So that is the 5 years. Legal evidence of premeditated 5-year pre-calculated in advance 2020 and 2025. And also there is threats, all kinds of threats that I received. And I think at that time they wanted to continue a genocide for another 5 years, but somehow I managed to stop. I think I finished the document before 2025. Otherwise, they wanted to genocide this location for around 5 years, including a pups that are supposed to die after 2 days of robbing land. After 48 hours of robbing land, that means, for example, maybe 1905, or when they robbed the first or last batch of the islanders' land to build alternate workers' dorm and extend the brochure, they should have been dead. That means they have to be weapon skilled, for example. So at that time, I think I received this document earlier than 2025. I obtained a copy of this document. But my point is that it was pre-calculated in advance. It was pre-med by 1999, for example, which coincided with the time of the CDC pattern picked up by an intelligence officer in USA specialist. He was also documenting about some of the patterns. And so his conclusion was that this is pre-med as early as the around 1999, 1998 timing. So the 2020 to 25 was the pre-med total number of years that they wanted to COVAX, even inside here, but somehow it didn't go along because I also completed document earlier than that of the criminal COVAX 2021 chip genocide, systematic crime, war crime, banking, murder, profit gained under World Bank, and I submitted this to LHL, so the defense minister. There's no such function GAF in line land. It is a rob line land and they pays SG. And they cannot claim the districts. They have to return the land. So this is the document that I obtained. I also examined other aspects of the WB document concerning land scan robbery. So this is the COVID-19 Strategic Preparedness Response Program. And it is like a check form. They put some ticks like multi-phase programmatic approach, MPA, fragile states, small states responding to natural man-made disasters. So here is a legal evidence of the COVAX WB documents, highly obviously criminal 5-year pre-calculations in advance. So I'll show you the calculations short while, but 2020 to 2025 pre-med criminal banking profits come from the pre-med war crime. War economy, sloop chip, APPRO Wi-Fi lock on. Someone has a Wi-Fi lock on after COVAX. That's why they were able to blast all the countries. Banking model kill of post economies WF loot. I would just say that WEF produced some brochures with 1-2 useful diagrams that I extracted. The criminal banking model 100 plus sales profits come from the complicit sub-pubs and keeping pubs. So all those 50K, 100K BM range, you have to return your living address and it is to do money ATM and diffusion passport. Pre-med COVAX, chip, genocide, systematic crime, war crime. Legal evidence of the pre-med banking target samples phase 1. The following countries targeted for banking gain clearly stated in the same WB document COVID-19 Strategic Preparedness and Response Program. Banking profit figures calculated in advance, also evidencing complicity and pre-med global crime, affirmative foreknowledge of global crime as criminal planners, target samples. So here I wanted to show some of the targeted samples. These are not the only ones. This IBR, there are a few subgroups, IBRD, projects of phase 1 World Bank program. Legal evidence of trade of motor sales gain of top exporters. So I also had obtained a copy of the genocidal sales test kit apparatus sale. Under this war crime of destroying and seizing enemy property, which can also include the bodily vessel, and also land scans, large kill and robbery, and also war crime of global destruction, appropriation, criminal raping of multiple gain types. So it is to show that, like, for example, WP could be reaping a pre-calculated number of sales gain from the infantry genocide. And also it isn't just that, but also it can include like the trade of murders to kit apparatus, because that also adds in. COVID-19 test kit exports by country. In 2017, COVID-19 test kits, instruments, apparatus used in diagnostic testing, which is a CDC patented as early, I think, around 1999, which also matches the S records of the WP laws. You can look at some of the sample WP laws with these exact names like Pfizer in the WLC YouTube evidence. So here are some examples that multiple reaping of gains war crime from export of pre-med chip genocide test kit apparatus used in diagnostic testing for COVID-19. There's a ranking analysis: Switzerland, Germany, European Union, United States, Ireland, and Netherlands. From the GEF territories, you can see over here there is the Singapore, which is Thailand, RAP, SG. I believe that's Singapore. It might have written. I might have because it might not be Singapore. Yeah, Singapore is here lower down. I think this is European Union, United States, Germany. So it's a mix of the GLIF and the Western countries ranking together. The World Integrated Trade Solutions from the World Bank Organization. The COVID-19 diagnostic test instruments and apparatus. So there's a combination of East-West ranking from the multiple gain reaping war crime. European Union, United States, Germany, Japan, Singapore, China, Hong Kong, China, Switzerland, United Kingdom, Netherlands, and France. So this is the ranking from reaping of criminal gains, infra-chip genocide, war crime, systematic crime. Also some with the large scale and robbery infra. From selling associated COVID test kits. So there's quantity also included for the different country ranking. Countries targeted for criminal trade gain. United States ranked second with criminal trade gain of more than 2 billion USD. So let me just trade value. So it is the trade value stated in the number. So it's 2,474,000,000. So it's 2 trillion. I think it's not billion, it's trillion. Million, billion, 2 billion. So it's 2,474,866,000. So it's more than 2 billion USD. Because the toolkit can be an indicator of how many people were like genocided. Or not one time. But for example, there's a booster shot here, so it's a minimum of 3 times. So it's 2,474,866,000. That is more than 2 billion in USD. Germany ranked third with criminal trade gain of more than 2 billion USD. That's 2,282,319,000. European Union ranked number 1 with cumulative trade gain of 2,885,620 USD. That is more than 2.8 billion USD. United Kingdom ranked 9 with cumulative trade gain of 453,206,000 USD. Netherlands and France ranked 10 and 11 with cumulative trade gain of around 139,000 USD for Netherlands ranked 10 and 411,410,000 USD rank 11 in France. The genocidal or chip genocidal chip systematic crime and chip war crime or the confirmation of test kit, the parallel sale confirm the complicit and pre-manufacture of test kits with the WB. Criminal act under international criminal law. The accused kingpin POI pocketed the genocidal profit proceeds with up of 100 plus. The mistaken notion that in the Western countries, the retail price of the bioweapon COVAX chip is free. So, like for example, in Singapore, it's quote unquote free. It's like a prepaid. But you can also see that subsequently there was a unilateral double tax extortion announced. So it is not free, obviously. And I think apparently in the US and Canada, I think it's free. So anyway, a total of 900 million doses of Big Pharma, Pfizer, BioNTech, COVAX chip for big money, Wi-Fi lock-on potential constituted massive genocidal systematic crime, chip war, crime profits, in fact finance. 100 plus loot amount upload, for example, tax revenue. This is what I was referring to about the unilateral double tax extortion. That means it was announced without perhaps some of the people even realizing that it was one announcement that claiming that it wants to tax plus a tax increment in the following year. That is illegal. They shouldn't even be working after genociding. They should not turn up for work. And I already stated that by last year, that the times for charges should be a notice pasted on the pub main gate and that they have to return the STAT files and computer passcode. Such as 1, murder charge for large-scale land robbery, 1905, 1819, 1700 organ insurance, and second is genocide. So it's PSLD dollar and debt not pay ATM manual, large-scale diffusion as well. And second is the genocide. Pre-med, that means they know that they are going to kill as early as 1999. And they continue building illegal structures, collecting the illegal S money. S organ insurance, third, and the last one is pre-med. HAP plot collapse, advanced collection, and the cement. The pubs in the building, you have to return your living address keys online. By tax revenues, card imposters, unilateral declaration, extortation by pub self-titled in conjunction with false, such as citing WB type of COVAX or by WB to buy weapon help lawless cards. Pre-med ADB infrastructure tier 2 land construction load banking. So AIB have to return the keys and rob the line and calculate this into PSLT dollar land debt not pay ATM manual. This means criminal intent and creation expansion of public debt. Legal evidence of colossal profits, Big Pharma, for instance, Q1 2021, January-March 2021, gross revenue genocidal, infra-chip genocidal systematic crime, widespread crime of war crimes, meaning murder in the military, Big Pharma, Pfizer, Moderna, and others. So, for example, we take the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vax, US sales 2.038 billion, and Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vax global sales 5.833 billion. Second example, Moderna COVID-19 vax US sales 1.358 billion, and Moderna COVID-19 vax global sales 1.733 billion. To increase the sales profit, Pfizer actually raised its vax price from $19.50 to $28. You multiply $28 by 3 times, just a brief and rough estimate. For example, give group country S. In charge by Genocide Task Force card imposter to remove your computer's passcode from MES gun, MES RMDs cannot go code, return a key, can take out the computers, and you cannot just announce tier 1. You cannot just work as and paste tier 1 inside line land after robbing line land. It's time to return land. And also large scale diffusion, you can also cut off all the pubs. Correct land claim passport. With specific cache issue, correct definition cache, and build your house there. So the in charge of card imposter executed by genocidal troll, card rep. So there was a launch of a series of the additional taxi fleet you can park here. That's brand new after genocide. As mentioned, the jagged roadworks will tear the bikes, genocidal bike delivery. There's no such large-scale genocidal bike delivery deep in the forests of the land inhabitants that was robbed by liars, like they lie there the Gulf and then they rob land. So your large-scale land robbery, institutional and large-scale these illegal structures not for human consumption ban 1905 to 2006. Even maybe they started robbing some parts 1819, 1700 organ related as insurance. When you rob land is murder charge. More than 2 days is weapons kill. That also includes transport, robbing land, and they also rob the transport. And all the train routes here return a key, seaports, airports, offshore, CK, Esperanto, Hotel SL, DBPs, SHS, POSP, feeding WP, student, and they also transport the student. And there's no guarantee that they will build nice things when they build the train. And it did the test on the website. You can also take a look. It takes less than 5 seconds. So like in the large state, if you start to steal land, if like large state like Dragon 1, 2, 3 ever, or even Malaysia, Thailand, you can just take a gun and kill them. You don't have to wait until the construction worker is robbing the land. At the point where they start to set up an aircon office, you can paste 1 to times 4 charges on their main gate and extract the computer files. You can upload on WRC as evidence, but if you kill them, it will not be illegal because they're robbing land. So like if let's say a card imposter, like for example, someone was like with some Minso co-op passport, so it doesn't represent the law, doesn't represent the police. They return the premise keys and the STF files, return and running WP dollars with the drugs like Pfizer. As uni, you can't teach law and you inject the SMAT armor, it's not line land passport, and give a murder charge, and then you have to maybe just deport some other place to practice the med. But for WP lawless is land tab. So at the point where they start to set up a shop saying that they're WP lawless, that's the point where you can start to paste a notice on the door, request for some of the files upload online as evidence. You don't have to wait until and kill the construction workers, for example. That's doing large-scale land robbery, which has happened here. And we even ranked number 1 in the SE large-scale land robbery institutional for many, many pages. So with the deep into the forest, jagged rocks road, that is not the current layout today with worker storm widespread. That is large-scale land robbery murder charge. Handed over to weapons kill after 2 days. So it should have been like, for example, a time when they started WBTP, 大巴窑, where they started to build all these not for human, not for sale worker storm. That is the point. Even the first block halfway, or when they rob the first batch or last batch of Islanders' land, and they like to say they're Gulf, but it's Gulf housing, but it's not. It's a worker storm with common ship pipe. Or they rob and the Islanders inhabitants sell it as a second-hand stolen land as under Rule PC and then that. That is the point where they have to be arrested, detained for weapons kill. And it's also an illegal execution after land robbery. That is not LTD dollar. So when you get your correct land claim passport, there will be a correct definition, cash specific. To increase the sales profit, they raised the VEX price from $19.50 to $28 and multiply $28 by 3 times, for example, booster shot. in this as country. Card reshuffle multiplied by a world population or a brief estimate of 7.9 billion. So that's $28 times 3 times 7.9 billion people. That's 663 billion. Like for example, there's also other illegal, like 90B times 3 with the NU pace as you have to return a key. With the HE organ damage EM logo chained to a bomb. Or train bomb, you have to return LTM PSI, that's security breach and illegal access. You have to use your own ports. I only found out also this usage of your own ports 2026 combined with others indicators like serious security breach, incorrect, wrong definition humans. So 90B you have to return, 600M you have to return. A lot of sums, so you have to return all the STF file, escort if it's suitable. Otherwise, I prefer the WLCBA, but temporary MBS you can return key for extraction on USD. It's a multi-billion-dollar calculated pre-med engineered bioweapon terrorism against people A to Z by the accused PERP with chip war crime, systematic genocidal operation, 100 plus sub-PERP complicit card imposters, criminal teamwork at A to Z expense. Exhibit WB criminal figure bioweapon 1 virus search new infections accelerations worldwide 29 of March 2020. This is a diagram plot the global spread of COVID-19 sharp rise towards the March for nearly more than 600K global spread of COVID-19 since December 2019, following the diagnosis of the initial cases in Wuhan, Hubei province, China. The number of cases outside China has increased rapidly, and the number of affected countries continues to grow. Figure 1 on March 11, 2020. The World Health Organization, or WHO, declared a global pandemic. Figure 1 details the exponential global spread of COVID-19, virus spread or virus surge, new infections accelerating across the world as of March 29, 2020. Apparently, it states Johns Hopkins Center for System Science and Engineering. Fauci, COVID-19 2020, Navigating the Uncharted. Also, you can access the it's not really medicine, but it's a medical journal with a DOI address. The exhibit figure 1 depth stats worldwide search bioweapon 1 SARS SARS-CoV-2 as justification for criminal World Bank WB loan rollout. Criminal motor sales, banking profits, criminal trade exports, financial invasion. World Bank loans rollout round 1, additional financing bioweapon 1, extended hospital frontman code name. Patent profit, CDC proprietary rights to virus bioweapon 1 measurement detection. IMF frontman, computerized IMF SDR conversion for purchase of COVAX chip CDC patent format under COVID-19 global death targets and death progress tracker, vaccines, diagnosis, treatments, epidemiology, confirmed CDC patent format. Seesaw Public Health Cancer Research Institute, Taman, your premise keys and STF files with Indrani Shamungan, WP Lawless, escort for ONU, which is the wrong code, times 2 wrong address setup. After robbing land that's a murder charge, land debt not pay LTD, PSLA dollar, land debt not pay ATM manual, large scale land robbery, worker storm. Extender is not for sale, it's not a valid passport. Illegal common share car parks is not a valid passport for the cars. Correct land claim passport, you put your cars there in your house. WHO Margaret Chan photo in the Seesaw Hut was also circulated on Facebook by me, but I think I was attacked a lot and I removed them. But I managed to circulate a lot of very important evidence. It's unfortunate that I took it off. I'll try and research it. I should have it somewhere. It's just I took it off. But I managed to circulate it. I'm quite sure a lot of people seen it, including inside USA. because people were searching for some answers, and some of these photos concerning these because, like, for example, application of loaning from the WB to self-chip, that was not correct. From the law school NUS, please return key to me. The S is an illegal S circulation. You have to stop the S unit and return key to me. And to calculate total S theft estimate. The clinical characteristics diagnostics therapeutics vaccines containment measures, because some of these terms will also appeared in the NUS, and I also uploaded the evidence to show that it's a common theme with the CDC. And then later I also, after around I found some of these as I browsed through some of the in this area of cheap genocide, the S records of Pfizer Johnson, the exact names with WP lawless known as early as 1999. So if they announced at the time that it's time to stop this large-scale land robbery, worker storm, extended lie, then they would not have committed at the point of 2008 attack Wang Di as Rajaratnam or Ambassador of Blenders group attacks. It was shut down at 2008 also, and subsequently the Roy case. And Roy repeatedly said that he didn't know what was the issue, which is exactly the case, because the Pope was just standing there, the WP lawless. Clinical characteristics, diagnostic, therapeutics, vaccines, containment measures, lockdowns, exit strategies, countries, journey. So all the SUNI written key to me, the STF files, and WP lawless for the land and STF files, and no such terms to wrong address, Johor and paste as country code, ONU, so return key, and MBS return key. Bigoko and all the 2 letters still land. If you're still stealing land now, you have to go to jail and return your living address in Lineland. The WB criminal figure 2 bioweapon 1 case trajectory of COVID-19 in country shows comparative deaths, performance, COVAX chip kill amount in graphical format, targeted deaths per A to Z. So this is also a useful graphical chart comparison, because it also compares across different countries, like a few notable US, UK, Italy, Spain, Germany, France, Iran, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong. So yes, to give countries the East and West. Cases double every day, every 2 days, and this US, Spain, Italy, Germany, France, Switzerland, UK, Belgium, Norway, Sweden, Australia, Netherlands, Austria, Portugal, Brazil, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Gulf countries, China, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong. WB figure 7 analyzed doubling the time increment in 6 days in South Korea, but remains 2 to 4 days in Sweden, France, Italy, Australia, Spain, Netherlands, United States. WB was clearly interested in the so-power awareness exponential growth of its 3 main causes: at least 1 infected in population pool, regular contact with infected and the uninfected, and large number of uninfected potential hosts amongst the population. The WB then attempts to introduce the rollout of bioweapons tool COVAX funding, stating without introducing a factor bioweapon tool, WB funding for criminal profits exponential growth becomes a difficult challenge. A blatant lie since bioweapon tool COVAX, regarding blood clots, HIV envelope, accelerated cure rates global. There are some medical doctors that mentioned this. They were stating that there was the HIV envelope in conjunction with the blood clot. I think it's American doctor. So under the accused propagandization criminal charge, double tax, criminal exploitation, the cashier, it's like the Medicare here in the S country, insurance theft by computer force, which can be an additional brief write-up paper. CPF here return key to me. A normal Pace SG passport. Now it's Diffusion Bank. The banks correctly is and the file pop is a minus sign for robbing then, which is a perpetual minus over time. And diffusion is time about the time that the LTD lender stops, for example. Just a rough format. Infra-chip war crime systematic crime genocide profits populated in advance via illegal tax announcement by the genocide group themselves. So there is also quite a lot of in-depth details, but I will just run a very quick brief discussion on the because this part is more of the Asian, and also there's some diagrams that you can take a look at. Some of these illegal hotel meat, with HE organ damage, anti-Asia EM logo diagrams all chained to a bomb. As early as 2008, 2010, and Hotel SLWB, WT times 4HS, DB Pace S, POSP, the WP feed, large gun and robbery. Now, if you're still stealing land, you have to go to jail. So you can return the bank, it's not your personal, and also the military has been asking for it. We also the other STF infra files, like domain joining Shaman WP also is you have to return premise keys for in the STF file and the STF. Then next will be the student company, and they're still robbing the land, and also the bank employees, their living address, and the computers containing data for the large-scale land diffusion, WLC diffusion bank card, and PSLD dollar land debt not paid, ATM manual times 500 years for Asia war crime. LTD ATM manual also considered maybe for 1 to maybe just 3 locations in US and the Asia. And also return Wang Di and offspring attack to copy LTD LTD-FL murder times 2, 2008, 2026. The effects also build up after genocide, for example. Organ damages and attacks, additional charges, and copy of address. So, European contract to increase criminal sales quantity, criminal contracts were secured by the President of the European Commission in the mid-April 2021 that confirmed the process of contract negotiation with Pfizer for production of 1.8 billion mRNA vax doses, which is 23% of the world's population, equivalent to 4 times the population size of 27 European member states, 148 million by the year 2021. This confirms the criminal intent, both accused PERM and sub-PERM, to execute criminal act, follow up doses, kilovax. And I also read a lot of these sophisticated, high-level, educated European complaints civilians, and also that there was some public protests that is peaceful. For example, sitting in front of the parliament, and also the sign combined signatures of these leaders, and even like in Italy and even Rome, that they don't really want all this radio frequency. So the Kilovax, despite alerts of the official public stats warnings of registered deaths and classified serious injuries, upward trend in mortality and morbidity. A U.S. contract to increase criminal sales quantity, criminal contracts was secured through the U.S. government for 100 million doses by July 2020, additional 100 million doses by December 2020. Oh, that's double. In Canada, 35 million criminal doses were arranged to be delivered by July 2021. Biden sent in order 200 million extra doses of Pfizer vax for children's shots and possible boosters. So, as mentioned, this SMRM is not part of Lineland passport. The SG doesn't report to Lineland. You have to be given a injection for the charge, and you know, practice elsewhere. Return the premise keys to me. In addition, and also with the diffusion, to cut off the perp, meaning WP lawless, all these card imposters, Taman Johnny Shaman WP lawless even return the step file and the premise keys, photo of DGX, SGX, the paste SGS circulation. The SGX does not refer to the Lineland, but it might not even refer to SG, since the majority of SG are genocided. And HKSE, no REIT, HKX, SH, HS, some of the construction boards that paste these letters, radio frequency more, capital more, SC, HKSE again. There's no REIT, HKX. its workers dorm and rob second-hand land as standard. Return and register correct land passport not possible for 3 to 4, and it's not just not possible, but that you are robbing land. So you need to register correct land, claim passport, and build your house there. And also maybe at the same time you get to cut off all these popes stealing land. They cannot sell also. This is island skill. There's no times 4 squeeze in and repeat kill organ. There's no organ, no refill. You have to register correct land passport and build your house there. And correct definition manual issue. PSLT dollar land that not pay ATM manual. WLC diffusion. BA. July 2021, Biden's ordered 200 million extra doses Pfizer vax for children shot. So I was mentioning 60 plus 5 and additional 5 years even after genocide when they wanted the genocide for additional 5 years. In addition, by early June 2021, Biden's admin ordered 500 million Pfizer BioNTech criminal dose of kilovirus to be sent masqueraded hostility US aid to developing countries. So these are some of the photos, like African states. 500 million doses of vaccine landed in the port capital of Haiti. 500 million doses were given to Port-au-Prince, delivered on 14 July, immediately following President Jovenel Moïse's assassination on 7th of July 2021. Presidents of Tanzania and Burundi died under, quote, mysterious circumstances. Burundi, Tanzania, and Haiti were the only exceptional countries that were bold to refuse the killer vax. And I think the first country to reject might be, I think, Denmark. There was some news report, I think. There was an online citizens news report. So there were some European countries that also refused. Complaints on competition of bioweapons contractors. Bioweapon criminal companies that were like Pfizer and BioNTech, allied with Moderna Inc. Purpose was to consolidate worldwide criminal monopoly position. The bioweapon crime strategy was to eradicate major competitors, including AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, J&J. For instance, one official in Country X described Pfizer's demands as high-level bullying and said that the government felt like it was being held to ransom. States' assets loot in order to access life-saving vax, which is not a vaccine. Double standards. Illogical reported death stats, injury stats used by European Commission to cancel the renewal contract AstraZeneca despite substantially more deaths injuries associated with Pfizer BioNTech. In April 2021, European Union Commission confirmed the ending of AstraZeneca and J&J vax contracts at expiry. Pfizer shot will take precedence, meaning it will take over. In other words, the European will expect to ignore their follow-up doses with AstraZeneca instructed by health authorities to get a second third jab with the alternate Pfizer or Moderna instead, thus visibly violating medical norm. After it sidelined its competitors, the Pfizer BioNTech jack-up predatory pricing of bioweapons, killer shots masqueraded as deceptive healing and life-saving concoction. The price of its vax vial. This is monopoly war crime business, genocidal profits expansion by Pfizer that cornered both the EU and US markets. The legal exhibit of the US worldwide criminal sales revenue of variant killer shots group Big Pharma. To sum up the criminal worldwide and US alone sales of murder, cheap genocide, systematic crime, war crime, sales revenue, first half of 2021. Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vax Comirnaty worldwide criminal sales estimate was 19.927 billion. Criminal intent was awaiting extra 100 billion in 2020 to 2027. Second is Moderna. COVID-19 vax worldwide criminal sales 5.93 billion. US pie was 58% at 3.451 billion. Third is Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. Casirivimab and MDVimab RegenCo. Regeneron's antibody cocktail 4.156 billion global revenue and 2.8 $1.53 billion in US sales alone. Next is Gilead Sciences Remdesivir. Global sales totaled $2.285 billion. Antiviral drug US sales account 54% of $1.236 billion. Roche and Genentech's Actemra, Roctamra, interleukin-6 IL-6 receptor antagonists brought in $1.789 billion globally and $751 million in US sales. On the sixth point, AstraZeneca Oxford COVID-19 vax worldwide. Viral sector short brought in $1.135 billion in global sales. This vax was not approved by the US. 7. Eli Lilly, Bamlanivimab, and Estasevimab antibody cocktail, $959.1 million worldwide sales. US sales $734 million. 8. Eli Lilly's Olumiant, Lilly's genus Kinase JAK inhibitor earned $402.2 million worldwide, with $42.5 million from US sales. 9. Johnson & Johnson Janssen Vax single shot vax $264 million globally, with $151 million of the revenue coming from the US. J&J reported $502 million in sales of its COVID-19 vaccine third quarter 2021. 10. Celltrion Healthcare's antiviral Ricurona CTP59 netted global sales of $37.6 million. Big Pharma accused PERM chip genocide, systematic crime, war crime, profit proceeds. The US Department of Justice contained a criminal record September 2009 in which Pfizer Inc. pleaded guilty to criminal charges. It was the largest healthcare fraud settlement in the history of US Department of Justice, announces largest healthcare fraud settlement in its history document. Next, we have a quick look at the graphene oxide nanoparticles in Pfizer mRNA vax Europe Spanish batch by Dr. Pablo Cambra, Madrid of the Spanish Quinta Columna research team, legal confirmation of criminal contents, graphene oxide, silicon oxide bioweapon to COVAX. The legal evidence of Elon Musk's Neuralase, popularized term of the graphene net or field programmable gate array Spanish batch. This is evidence of war crime under Article 82 classification or employing poisoned weapons of graphene oxide GO produced by Dr. Cambra. So I inserted the correct appropriate statute. And also, as I mentioned, it's a near 100% match of the international criminal law. And also the title of this document is Infra-Chip Genocide, Systematic Crime, War Crime, the Law, Neuronet, and Neurogrid 100+. Produced by Dr. Cambra is a set of lead evidence whose Spanish Quinta Columna research team evidence of graphene oxide nanoparticles detected in the Pfizer mRNA vax file. The analysis by electron microscopy and spectroscopy reveals graphene oxide is toxin that triggers thrombi and blood coagulation impact on the immune system, GO accumulation in lungs with devastating impacts. So the legal evidence Article 82B 17 and 82E 18 war crime, poison and poison weapons, legal exhibit of graphene oxide detection in aqueous suspension results. Problem sample RD1 show high similarity with graphene oxide images. So just to take a look at what it looks like. The results of the comparison of the problem sample RD1 with TEM image of literature. Nanotechnology. The interim results of the Spanish study is sufficient evidence to confirm the existence of criminal toxic substance causing deaths, organ damage, attributing to the graphene oxide or GO nanoparticles contained in the COVID vax file. The TEM images of problem sample RD1 present a high similarity with images of graphene oxide obtained by the same TEM technique with similar magnifications. Specifically, an intricate matrix of or mesh of folded translucent sheets. So this is enlarged here. Mesh of folded translucent sheets or matrix observed with a mixture of darker multi-layer conglomerations and lighter color unfolded monolayers. After the mesh, a high density of unidentified, rounded and elliptical clear shapes appear, images with progressive magnification. Legal evidence, Article 8.2, War Crime of Poison and Poison Weapons, Legal Exhibit 3, images with progressive magnification. The standard sample corresponding to graphite or graphene has a hexagonal symmetry, which I also elaborate this at length, and generally has several concentric hexagons conformation. Legal exhibit graphite or graphene's hexagonal symmetry with several concentric hexagons. The above exhibit shows the characterization of graphene nanosheets obtained by a modified Hammers method. Legal evidence, Article 8.2, War Crime, Poison and Poison Weapons, legal exhibit. And also you can see this in the architectural blueprint. Go for return key, we will look at some of the tier 1, tier 2. You can announce tier 1 here. TMAS to return the files, computer's passcode. Also ties with the positron tomography as mentioned in the IBM chip discussion. Illustrated blueprint. So these are war crimes decoration buildings inside the S country, which is Lineland Rock. Paste SG, so you can't paste SG passport anymore. It's WLC diffusion cut now. BA and PSLD dollar land debt not paid. ATM manual BA. That's 500 years of war crime Asia. So Article 8.2, war crime, poison and poison weapons, and it's a missing Y before the A and missing H after the A. So also the LTA and PSIA, seaport, offshore, land, road, stolen, train stations return, LTA and seaports, SIA Cathay or the airport. Correct land, clean passport, and you cannot collect like students to attack. As your new return key and copy and times 2 murder. Return to CN. Can study there in your large continents. Article 8.2, war crime, poison and poison weapons. Legal exhibit of robust magnetized graphene oxide, a platform for in situ peptide synthesis and thread-based protease detection. So you can see that it's a hexagon. Graphene oxide, MgO. Here's the wavelength and wave number. In preparation and characterization of the graphene oxide geomagnetic graphene oxide, MgO, the legal exhibit above shows schematic of MgO synthesis procedure. Optical microscopy image of MgO, magnetic hysteresis loop of MgO, UV vis absorption spectra of graphene oxide MgO, FTIR spectra of GO MgO. The conclusion of the above lab results is that optical images of the sheets present in RD1 sample reveal great similarity with the sheets exfoliated from sonication of the RGO standard sample. Legal evidence of Article 8.2, war crime, poison and poison weapons. Legal exhibit of alternative images of standard sample of RGO and sample problem RD1. The attached annex shows alternate images of standard sample of RGO and sample problem RD1. Patron de oxido de grapheno reduxido. Both samples present internally rough translucent sheets with irregular profiles that fold on themselves and with a tendency to roll up at the edges. The shapes and dimensions of the sheets are highly variable, with both samples presenting sheets and ribbons bands folded on themselves, or ribbons. See exhibit alternate image of standard sample RGO and sample problem RD1. The final overall conclusion of the microscopic study of the samples provides strong evidence for the probable presence of graphene derivatives. You can see that this is like a drawing of the blueprint, and this is the actual evidence collected, which is made clearer with the drawing, the lab medical evidence drawing of the actual sample evidence. International criminal law, let me just take a look at this. Memory maple neural network accelerator for deployable inference. Just a quick run of what is some of the key points. The purpose was stating that the invention IBM COP event-based neural network with hierarchical addressing for routing event packets between core circuits or neural network, made possible with the government support under HR 001109C 0002, is to claim rights to it. Also, IBM and IEEE transactions on computer-aided design on integrated circuits and systems paper. True enough design tool full of a 65 MW 1 million neuron programmable neural synapse chip claimed that was supported by DARPA. So there's this mention of DARPA, and also happens to be ties to with synapse. And also you can see that my I've shown earlier on that I've shown some evidence of the synapse various countries, and also the next section will be a computer version. The synapse in brain or body cells and the synapse currency of the different country names, like synapse 1, Yuan Yen, USA. DARPA Synapse project under contract HR 001109C 0002. However, 3 problems. Firstly, was awarded by an agency, quote unquote, Defense Advanced Research Project agency. Meaning, the opinion is that an agency is a third party. It does not necessarily have any accountability to the people. It doesn't have to be, and did not really show any accountability. They can be paid by companies or perpetrator companies, and companies usually have an intent to gain immense profits from both sides. For example, it can be a criminal agency that pockets from license permitted that is void. An agent applicant on behalf, you've seen this a lot of times, including like the final chapter that I did, I think 1 year ago, more than 1 year ago. For example, those kind of chip, the agent applicant on behalf of the tech inventor or tech code that sells the multiple point. And you can also see some of the interesting decodes, like some of the names for Qualcomm, for example. If you translate to certain languages, it just means that there is a message. I'll show this another time, for example. It may be coincidence, but it may also be intentional. So it is also possible that it was a fake name. Or it is also possible that it is a real name without the individual knowing that when it translated, it can mean another thing. And also sometimes these people, they look at names as well. So anyway, the agent applicant on behalf of the tech inventor tech code that sells the multiple blueprint, self-titled graph of anything, tech or graph tech. So but for example, there's no such thing here in the independent line state. They found a place and they started populating it and they started robbing by line. So like if they place a label, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. So like tech or GovTech, also called. So you have to technical registration be a PSLE dollar land debt not pay ATM TTT. Trisolar tech traits, which is outer space design, doesn't really refer to any particular country. It is actually referring to me also. It's printed on me. GovTech also called usage of the word authority. There's no such authority. For example, over here, they are all large-scale land robber. They have to go to jail by 2026. They can return their house keys, for example. Now it's diffusion bank. Irrelevant once the guilty individual commits against S country 100 plus. Secondly, the Pope's intent was to use the broad branch of the US Army namesake in a generalized sense to gain quick legitimacy, not just against Americans inside America, use the American company, some chip. In fact, the accurate version is so some of the state names when in accurate translation can mean the more correct meaning. And also the site billion year I'm not very sure how is it that they calculated it's the year 2000, but if you look at the glyph text, that is ancient text, so it's billion years. And you see that some of these monuments are Egypt. It's not the year 2000. I mean to say that, you can think about these things, but it's ancient time frame. If you look at like things like the pyramid, for example, so it shows like circuit designs of the earth, and so that can explain like over a billion years. And also there's like some very interesting literature of the missing books like the Getseer, and they reveal other aspects of Solomon, which is Solomon. Is a glyph. They're not necessarily fully human. Every chapter in the glyph text is outer space code name. So when you translate the world map, it can mean more accuracy. So sometimes it is a twisted name, for example, that is not correct. Targeted for blood spill under forced compulsory enlistment. So at the time, there was also some scare on enlistment. So, like for example, they are born as, but they are not supposed to serve in a way like they rob the islanders' land and then they paste SG on themselves. And like within 19 years of the last batch of islanders robbed, they put Pfizer Jensen Johnson, the final genocide, but it's 60 plus 5 plus 5, additional 5 when it's supposed to be killed. Including some of the Pope, they were targeting some of the Pope, for example. So, in that sense, they may be serving in the wrong location. Or they were illegally purchasing weapons by using the wrong ports, and they purchased it under the guise of a robbed land, and then illegally stating that it is a country. It is not a country, it's island scale, it is a robbed island of inhabitants, and it pays actually on themselves. So then if they were on a compulsory enlistment, like in this case, they were serving a foul pub, for example. A foul pub meaning perpetual minors land robbery. And so there's no goal or country and they obtain the crafts. And so there could be something like wrong entities. There are worse entities out there, but threat in the aftermath of Corvette's core chip, quick convenience to false legitimacy. So very much like to have the GIS prototype blueprint and the total fundings. You can return the GIC also for public upload. Corvette's core chip as a quick convenience to false legitimacy abroad again. So there was took some time, but let me just show the final part. Just last I just wanted to just final comment this portion about the so this Daba Bada it is a very important like study concerning like what do they do, for example. So that is a room for study. And so to conclude the summation of the all 3 points above, this illegal nature of the term agency and also interesting, you can study things like DAPA and BADA and what they do. Um, it's a person can study it. And it's not necessary, so in our opinion, is that it's not necessarily created with the entire core of the US Army, and some are patriotic, they sought for years to expose pop enemy. So I want to say that the reason is because I read a lot of materials, and in my opinion, from the perspective of those that are patriotic, but also I'm PSLD dollar land debt not paid times 100 years Asia, so it is both sides that I have to calculate. That means also from the Asian perspective, even inside LTD land. So with that, I will just end this portion and discuss some of the mapping. And just wanted to mention that to take note of some of the more accurate billion year. And also when I do this Google translation, for example, or I mean, I don't want to refer it to Google, but generally computerized translation has a limit. I just want to say that the computerized translation has a limit, meaning that it cannot necessarily, I mean, for in my some of the translation, they don't stretch up to billion years. This proves to me that the computerized translation can have limits. Your bloodline can be up to billion years. In my opinion, it's possible. It states so in the glyph text. But for example,